Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the fourth episode of the Unbound podcast. As you may have noticed, and as we mentioned last week when we put the podcast out, we've spent the last several episodes going over exciting updates and announcements, and then going over the new programs and courses that we just launched last week. So if you're curious to learn more about those, you can go back in this podcast and listen to any of those episodes. You can also go to beunbound.us to learn more about our new offerings and everything that's going on with the business. But this week, we wanted to change things up. We wanted to set a new tone, and we wanted to make things a little bit more fun. So we thought this week we'd do kind of a meet the team type of podcast where we would go over a bunch of different questions, and hopefully you guys enjoy it and you feel like you know all of us a little bit better by the time you come out the other side of this. So with me this week, we've got once again Ellie Smith, our Director of Admissions. We've got Victoria Grant, who's our Director of Courses and Content. And we've got Megan Weber, once again, our Chief Operations Officer. So for the rest of this podcast, Megan's actually going to run the show because she's kind of, besides Jonathan, she's been around probably the longest. And as you may have noticed, the one big omission from this cast is Jonathan himself. And that's because this is kind of a mutiny. We think it's ridiculous that most of the staff is under the age of 26. And so we thought, well, we may as well take out the only guy who's not under the age of 26 and just make this, a podcast for those of us, the few, the proud, the majority of the staff, the young people. So with that, Megan, why don't you go ahead and get us started with all of the icebreaker questions. And for the record, none of us have heard these before. We have no idea what's about to happen. So it's yours now, Megan.
Oh, I'm so excited. We are going to have fun today. So
can we call these something other than icebreakers though? Because that's really...
Oh, they're not icebreaker questions.
I just said that. I said the wrong
These
word.
are better than icebreaker questions. So you'll be proud, Ellie.
Great.
TBD.
All right. So Ben just said all of our professional titles, but we are entering week 4 as a company. So I want everybody to share what is it that you're actually doing. So let's start with Ben, since he's been asking the questions for the last few weeks.
What am I actually doing? Well, I'm actually doing a lot of marketing, although last week it's been, it's been obviously a lot of IT. It's been a lot of design. It's been a lot of different things. So, at least especially about a week or, the last 10 days or so prior to this, when it was really focusing on the website and building everything out, I guess I would say my title is really more like lead designer and like IT support.
It's true, but you helped us come up with the awesome Ascend logo, which is super cool. So if you guys haven't seen that, definitely go check it out on the website. Ellie, what about you? Director of Admissions, but what have you actually been doing?
No admissions yet. So,
wow. Okay. Typical startup.
Yes. Yeah. So if I was going to rephrase my title, I'd probably just call it Slack channel jumper, because all I do all day long is jump around from everybody's individual channels and other various unnecessary channels, just seeing what else I can be doing while I'm not doing admissions. I just jump around. I bother Ben as often as possible. That's really it. Yeah. So
you're the Slack rabbit.
I talked to Victoria, and I'm helpful, like asking good questions, trying to be a resource. Talk to Megan when I have very pointed questions, things like that. Talk to Ben whenever I have nonsense that doesn't have anywhere else to go.
Confirmed.
Would those random channels include our group therapy channel? Just so I figure out where that one gets categorized.
The group therapy channel. I am the founder of said channel.
Founder and CEO, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
That's great. Victoria, what about you? What are you actually doing? It sounds like Ellie's actually coaching you. So what does that make you?
Well, I was going to say more like I've kind of been more the mediator between Ellie and Ben. So making sure the team doesn't blow up in flames. That's sort of kind of behind the scenes role. Yeah. But also catch all. So yes, I have been working on courses and content and coaching and all that great stuff. But I would say that probably the mediating role has been the most important. Also making sure that the team stays caffeinated. That one I'll split with Ellie. I'll give Ellie some credit on that one. We kind of do the dual coffee thing on our various sides of the team.
I will say that when this team started out, Ben Billups did not own an AeroPress. And at this point in time, Ben Billups does own an AeroPress, and I do take full credit. So
No, I'm pretty sure I bought the AeroPress before.
no.
But did you use the AeroPress before? No.
No, I've never used an AeroPress
Oh, that's a
before, but it
question.
was definitely, I intended to buy one prior to that. Yes.
Intentions
For the record.
but reality, actions, you know.
It matters a lot, that detail.
All right. Well, moving on. Victoria already said that she is the mediator, and it's true. She is our Enneagram Type 9 on the team, and at least in my life in general, which tends to make her feel a little superhuman because she doesn't have opinions. She just listens and lets the rest of us vent our opinions. So, Victoria, I'd like you to inform us, what are some of your actual pet peeves?
Okay. If I was to create a pet peeve, no, I'm just kidding.
Create one.
Definitely pen clicking.
No.
Pen clicking is a big one. And in fact, I'm looking, I think I own maybe one pen actually that clicks. Otherwise, they are all pop tops. So that is a major one. The other one, definitely meetings that run over an hour or a minute longer than they have to. So yeah, if it runs longer than an hour, somebody's done something wrong somewhere. And if it was a 5-minute meeting that went 7 minutes, then someone's also done something wrong. So yeah, those could be construed as pet peeves.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, it's good to know that you're human like the rest of us and have your own annoyances. So we appreciate that insight.
And is the pen clicking, is that because of the sound that it makes, or is it because of the level of irresponsible decision making being committed by the pen holder?
You know, Ben, that is a solid question. Can it be yes and?
Yeah, both is fine.
And yeah, it's the sound and the fact that somebody didn't stop doing this in second grade also.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, note to self, avoid long meetings and pen clicking around Victoria. That's
if you guys bring pens that click to our next staff meeting, I'm going to have words.
I mean,
so now I do want to bring one.
We have to get twist pens or something? Like, what do we do?
Well, like normal pens that you just like pop the top of. It's totally
But
normal.
then you can still slide the cap off and back on. Is that annoying or is that okay?
I can make lots of things click.
You know, I'm glad Ellie set up a group therapy channel because we're going to
challenge accepted.
All right. Well, speaking of Ellie, I'd also like to hear from you. You have this ability to just take life as it comes, not really react, and just hold it all in. So I'd like to know, what do you actually find humorous? What will guaranteed make you laugh?
Oh my gosh. Somebody asked me this at Apex a couple years ago, and I didn't even have an answer for them then. I just know.
Now you've had a few years.
Gosh, that's not helpful. So here's the thing. I do laugh. It does happen. I'm pretty sure everyone on this call has witnessed it. So I don't keep a record book of the things that make me laugh, bullet pointed lists. I just know that it happens sometimes. And in the whole, channel of taking life as it comes, why would I put markers on the things that make me laugh? Because that would be going backwards, and I'm the take your life as it comes kind of person. So I'm not exactly taking notes. I'm just taking it and moving on. So yeah.
So that just means we'll have to take notes on your behalf. So we'll get back to our audience in 6 months and let you know.
That's a little bit disturbing, Megan, that you guys are going to take notes about me. But if that's what you want to do, then you can go
I'll
for
take
it.
the notes. Megan can turn them into a flowchart.
Oh, gosh.
Data.
Perfect.
And when that happens, all sense of humor that does live inside me will die.
It's that frail.
Wow.
It is that frail.
Wow.
See, no, that's what I have been for.
Box,
I don't make sure
it
it
will
doesn't
die.
die.
Okay.
I have doubts.
Well, I mean, we weren't really sure it was there in the first place, so I'm not sure we should be worried about it disappearing.
And with that, Ellie has no words. So Ben, you can just keep talking.
Hey, we got Ellie to laugh. So
this question, there you go. Yeah. So this next question requires a little bit of explanation. This next question is about WHAM. WHAM, for those of you who don't know, is our weekly accountability meeting. We have a team meeting on Tuesdays, and at the start of it, we all go over our task list from last week, what we got done, what we didn't. We score ourselves on a very basic percentage system. An 8-year-old could do it. And then we set our task list for the next week. Ben doesn't quite understand how the system seems to work. And so he insists upon pre-scoring himself and scoring himself with things like 200% or 250%. So Ben, I would like to know, why do you pre-score weeks that have not happened yet? And what is it about percentages that you don't understand?
Well, first of all, I'd like to reject the implication that I'm the one that doesn't understand how the system works, when it is, in fact, that perhaps you should approach this topic with an open mind, ready to learn. I believe it was Epictetus that said that you can't learn what you already think you know. So I'd just like to begin this conversation by saying I think that we would all do well if you adopted a more humble state of mind in the way that you approach this topic. However, that being said, pre-scoring weeks has to do with an anticipation. It has to do with a goal, but it also has to do with just the exact level of knowledge that I have about how I'm going to perform in the near future, which I've never been wrong about in all the years of my life.
We may just have to have a whole podcast learning how that works. I'd
be happy to be on that podcast.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
I'm thinking more like a course, like if we can develop a course and just hone all of that wisdom and knowledge, I mean, the world would be so much more productive.
I don't think wisdom and knowledge is quite the right way to put that. I'd maybe arrogance and knowledge, but the wisdom needs to not be there.
But you still put knowledge in there, right?
Yeah. I'm a little confused because you said something about, some quote from some random person with a name that nobody knows. No, I'm making a statement. It's going to end with a period, and you can take it however you would like to.
Wow.
You mentioned some quote by somebody that nobody knows, and so I do have questions about the legitimacy of that quote, but it's not really the point. But it was said something about, what was it? Knowledge is like, what was it? Something about what you think you know. Can you repeat the quote, please?
You can't learn what you already think you know.
Yeah, you can't learn what you already think you know. So what's the difference between knowledge and what you think you know? Because you said that your like pre-scoring is based on knowledge of how you're going to perform in the future, and you've never been wrong. But what's the difference between knowledge and what you think you know? Because there's just a hole in the argument. You need to fill it.
Well, like I said, I've never been wrong.
This is not helpful, Ben. I want to know the difference between knowledge and what you think you know. Are they the same thing? Is it just the same two ways of saying the same thing?
Yes. There are a variety of ways in which reality can indicate to us that what we think we know and what we actually know are, in fact, in disparity with what is truly available and happening in the external world. And so my point being that those things have never been in conflict when it comes to my own reports about my own performance.
Gotcha. Okay. So I don't know anything that you just said, but I have problems with. And
I'd also like to point out that any issues that we have with the way that I score myself in WHAM can actually be brought as a complaint back to the system itself, because self-reporting is historically and empirically a vastly inaccurate scale, a way of measuring anything. So if you have any complaints to bring to me, you should bring them to Megan, because she's the one who is bringing WHAM together in the first place.
Hey, Megan, can you set some parameters?
You know, I have tried to set parameters, and all I can say is Ben doesn't believe in coloring inside the lines. And I think that goes back to what should be learned before the age of 7, like Victoria was talking about with the pen clicking. So, yeah. That's all I got to say on that one. All right. Let's see here. This next question is an everyone question. We already mentioned that we are pulling a mutiny today, and we have kicked Jonathan off the podcast so that we can have some fun. So let's take it up a notch and let's rate Jonathan's success as a CEO, which he's had 4 weeks of experience at. So we'll give him a little bit of grace on a scale of 1 to 10.
This is really dangerous.
This is, but I think it will be fun. So let's roll with it. Ellie, why don't you go first?
Let's see. My last meeting experience with Jonathan ended with him telling me I should take a nap. So I have pretty high regard for anyone who gives me permission to take a nap. And having a CEO who gives me permission to take a nap is pretty awesome. Never has happened to me before. So maybe like 8.5.
It's pretty good. And that's a really good reason. Let's see. Ben, why don't you go next?
10 out of 10 because I like my job.
Wow, that's the lamest way to answer this question, Ben. You're such a suck up.
I know.
All right, Victoria gets to answer this next. I'll go last.
So I feel like I need a matrix, and it's also kind of not really like how do you
Victoria, you're not grading English papers. You're just rating somebody on a scale of 1 to 10. It's not an English paper.
Why would
you don't
I
need a
rate
matrix.
them? Like, what if they're doing the best
Because
they
it's
can? Then
entertaining.
clearly it's a 10 out of 10.
No, Ben already took that score. We can't have 2 of those.
We can't have.
I
don't
think it's
understand the
wise.
rating system. It's stressing me out here, guys. Oh,
if
gosh.
you are gonna do 10 out of 10, you have to have a different reason than Ben, because Ben's reason was lame.
But what if I like my job also?
You can like your job. You need to have a different reason for rating Jonathan 10 out of
10. Okay. Well, how about I'll do this. I'm going to shoot for the 9 out of 10. We're going to placate both Ben and Ellie. It's not a perfect 10 out of 10 because none of us are perfect, Ben. Even when we try to rate ourselves.
I disagree.
We can take that up later. But yeah, Megan, I'm going to go with the 9 out of 10 because I think Jonathan's done a pretty stellar job of vision casting and keeping things clear enough for us to execute on. The one missing point is because we have taken a few different directions on last minute projects here and there and left and right. But I think overall we have a pretty solid trajectory. So the vision is solid.
I'd say for a visionary, for him to shift directions now and then, that's pretty expected. So that seems like a good score. I am going to give Jonathan.
That's why Megan's on the team.
I mean, the only reason I rated him an 8.5, since we're going to give reasons for the lacking of points.
Are you backing up, Ellie? You can't backtrack. You can't backtrack. You got to hold strong to your opinion.
I am holding strong to my opinion. I'm not changing my opinion. I just find it entertaining that you gave a reason for the lacking point. And so I'm going to give a reason for my lacking 1.5 points. Wow. And that is that the only chance that Jonathan has given to one of the lifebloods of my productivity, which is coffee, is the Chick-fil-A drive-through. And I think he could earn back the 1.5 points if he tried the Valley Pike coffee or something to that extent. So
touche. I will back Ellie on this one, and then we can have 3 10 out of 10s.
Excellent. I would give Jonathan a 10 out of 10 as well, but I have a different reason from Ben. And that is I went to write the job descriptions for our team, and I was fully prepared to write the entire document myself. And I just asked Jonathan for the bullet points for each person, like what their responsibilities would be. And 4 hours of work later, so the next day by noon, I got delivered to me 4 documents that were 6 pages each. Not filled with bullet points, but filled with the vision of the company and the vision for each person. And I just have to say, as the ops person who really hates to write long things, nothing made me happier than having those documents delivered and realize that it is important to have someone who does not have the strengths the same as yours. And yes, so that act alone, which is now probably like 4 weeks old, definitely earned him a 10 out of 10. So,
wow.
It's great. Alrighty. One more set of individual questions to wrap us up here. Ellie, tell us your first impression of everyone on the team and identify the person who is the easiest to work with.
So first impression of them as in like when I remember meeting them, or first impression of them within the context of the team?
Ooh, what would be more fun? The first impression when you met them.
Okay, well now I have to try to remember meeting you guys. Let's see. I met Megan I'm pretty sure I met you whenever I got on the cabinet. I'm not counting meeting you at the registration table at the Apexes, because that's just very like touch and go situation. So let's see. It had to be the cabinet. And if we're going to in person, that means that I met you at an airport in San Antonio, Texas. My first impression of you. So here's the thing. I'm kind of like, I'm not making this up as I go, but I am kind of like pulling from what was probably my first impression of you, because let's be honest, I don't really remember. So based on what I know about you, what I know about me at the time, this is probably what my impression was. My impression of Megan was probably that she always has a clipboard, because whenever I met you at the airport, you were definitely checking off names. That's definite. That's 100% for sure. Probably always has a clipboard, which means she's terrifyingly organized. And then when we got to the hotel, I'm pretty sure we had assigned rooms, which, yeah. So I'm pretty sure my first impression of you was just like super organized. Wonder if she ever chills. Does she ever have a conversation that doesn't start with you belong here and you belong here? There we go. Okay, moving on. Victoria, when did I meet you? Okay, I think I didn't meet you until the cabinet too, because we were on the same cabinet. Your second year, my first year. I'm pretty sure that's when I first met you. Probably ran into you at Apex a couple times, but didn't like have a very solid interaction. So this is another thing. I don't remember my initial impression of you. I just remember that on the last day of the cabinet trip, when we were all voting for who the executive would be, like I didn't even think twice about it being Victoria. And so my first impression of you was probably just like, wow, so super competent person. You obviously fit the role of executive in my mind. So probably had, high respect, very impressed with your competence. And yeah, you had a lot of team bonding, abilities. So that was probably my first impression of you. And Ben, I don't know when I met you either. This is the problem with this question, Megan, is that I would like to know if any of us are actually going to remember the exact moment in time that we met each other. And well, except for Megan, because you probably have a spreadsheet that tells you that. But Ben, maybe, let's see. I probably met you in 2016 because you're on the cabinet then.
Probably
met you then. I don't really have memory of meeting you. I do have a very distinct memory of whenever you came onto the cabinet as staff in 2018. And one of the first things that happened, or at least the first thing that like stuck in my mind, was there was a day in Slack where I went to message you about something and you spent the entire day chatting in nothing except robot language. And
I don't remember this.
I have Slack proof of this because I never log out of channels. So yeah, you spent the whole day speaking in robot language. And I'm not talking not like the, what's the word for that, for the code language that robots speak, the 0001.
Oh, binary?
Yeah, not binary. Just like very disjointed, missing a lot of like connecting words, things like that. So anyway, that was probably one of my first impressions of you, was on cabinet as staff. And yeah, I couldn't really figure you out, so I just didn't try to. And I just kind of matched as well as I could communication style. And then it worked out for the rest of the year. So, yeah, those are very non-straightforward first impressions. But I'm sorry, I don't remember meeting any of you.
That just means we've been friends for a long time and good friends for a long time.
That's true. So Ben, it's your turn to take a stab at talking about the team. Tell us how you're feeling about working with 4 Virginians.
Well, first of all, it's not 4 Virginians. It's 4 people who happen to be in Virginia. As far as I know, I mean, even Jonathan himself, is he even native or is he non-native Virginian? I can't even remember.
He's a native Virginian.
He is native. Okay. That makes sense given the amount of irrational pride he has in his state. But really, I'm talking to somebody who's from Oklahoma, and 2 people who are from California. So who just happen to reside in Virginia. Do I feel by myself? Do I feel on an island? Do I feel cast out? Do I feel left out on the water cooler talk? 100%. Do I want to move to Virginia? Absolutely not.
Well, those are a lot of feelings. So maybe we'll need to take that conversation to the group therapy channel.
Group therapy, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And Victoria, last question for you. Rank the team based on maturity.
Oh, dear.
This is going to be great.
I had a lot of fun coming up with these questions.
Is this like least amount of maturity, the most amount of maturity? How are we defining maturity?
I think that's up to
you get to define maturity. We'll say least mature is 1 and most mature is 10. That's the only defining I'm doing for this question.
Oh, dear. But I have to rate myself in this also.
Yes.
Are people allowed to tie in this also?
No.
Okay.
It's okay, Victoria. We'll also have a group therapy session for you after this.
I'm going to need a group therapy session. Like, what if you guys feel like I'm like rating you? All the pressure.
Well, everybody does.
Okay.
We do grade each other. We just don't usually talk about it. So
it's true.
Exactly.
I mean,
I'm just upping
I'm glad to know that you grade us all, Ben. This is good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I see how it is.
Just kidding.
Sure. Okay. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's my gut response.
Very slow coming gut response.
There are so many different aspects to maturity. So here's what I think. I think you guys might correct me on this. I'm actually going to place Ellie and I as a tie. We have no different kinds of maturity. Wait, we said no ties?
Already breaking the rules.
We said no ties.
I said no ties.
All right. Well, then I will be on the bottom then because
oh my gosh.
And
everyone who listens to this is going to disagree with you.
Well, I'm going to say that, Ellie, you can remain focused longer than I can. So I'm going to put that as a mark of maturity. I'm going to say that you're able to hone in on a project and run with it versus my brain tends to be like, I am deep working on this project. Oh my gosh, this sounds like so much fun. This is such a great idea. I'm going to jump. And then, oh wait, I got to come back to this. So we're going to say that. So it'll be me and then Ellie. Ben.
It's going to be a while, folks.
All right. I'm actually going to, all right. I'm going to put Ben next, but only because Ben has not yet learned how to rate himself on issues. And there's some leadership growth that our whole team needs, but you know, I think Ben might need some work in this area. After Ben, we're going to do Jonathan because again, if we're going with I'm going to use my earlier metric of the ability to grab an idea and run with it and not get sidetracked. That's going to be a mark of maturity. And it means that I have to put Megan at the top because Megan is not only capable of sticking with an idea and running with it, but also making sure everyone else comes along and stays on track, stays organized, and we probably have our own cell or row in a spreadsheet somewhere towards said project. So there you go. That was a stressful activity.
What are the numbers though? 1 through 10.
Out of 10? Okay, let's do. I'm gonna be 7. Yeah, I'm going to give myself an 8. Ellie, you can be an 8.5. Actually, no, you can be an 8.1 because I think you and I are pretty close. We're going to give Ben an 8.5. We're going to give Jonathan a 9, and Megan can have a 9.1. There we go. That's what I think.
Numbers are so helpful because now I understand the context for our rating. You and I, Victoria, had a very different understanding before we put numbers to it.
Yeah, you know what? I think we should revisit this question in another 6 months, however, because I'm talking about 4 weeks of data. I mean, I've worked with you all before on different teams, but this is a new project, a new technical team. So yeah, hit me up in 6 months and we'll see if I've decided that I'm now the most mature member of the team.
I'm just jazzed that 1 quarter into my life, I'm already 8/10 mature. I think that's pretty cool.
Don't push it, Ben.
I think my score really has more to do with the fact that I make dinner for her on a nightly basis than my actual work abilities, but we'll leave that for a later discussion. That is the end of my questions. This was a lot of fun. So thanks, guys, for doing this with me.
Well, there you have it, guys. For better or for worse, that's the team. As you may have picked up, I tend to be the antagonist. I think every group needs an antagonist, and usually there isn't anyone who's willing to step up and be the antagonist. So I typically decide to take the hit, to make the sacrifice, and to be that antagonist on behalf of the entire team. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this podcast. I hope you enjoyed Megan's questions. And once again, if you're interested in learning more about Unbound and all of its new offerings and all of the new opportunities, visit beunbound.us, and we'll catch you guys next week.